Banks charge you 24% interest on a television. They use your payments to buy apartment buildings. Wealthy investors borrow money at 4% to buy those exact properties, and you will calculate your specific threshold to stop funding their portfolios. Banks treat credit cards and mortgages as distinct products, yet you find identical mechanics in both loans. A lender hands you cash today, and you return that cash later while paying a fee. Financial educators teach consumers to view these loans as opposites. They tell you to categorize every loan based on moral judgments and promise financial safety if you follow their system. Millions of responsible individuals follow this advice and watch their net worth shrink every month. Consumers lose wealth when they follow this standard system. You gain zero future wealth based on the physical items you purchase with borrowed money. You determine if a loan increases your bank account or empties it by running a mathematical calculation. Most borrowers fail to run this math on a single account they hold. You will calculate this figure across your home loan, auto financing, and plastic cards. You will see which accounts grow your savings and which steal your money when you examine the final dollar amounts. Wealthy individuals leverage borrowed money to multiply their fortunes. They possess no extra intelligence and understand this mathematical calculation. Lenders apply one universal definition to every single loan. A person or institution gives you cash today, and you sign a contract to return that cash tomorrow while paying an interest rate. Banks structure home loans, auto financing, university tuition plans, and plastic card balances around this same mechanism. Corporations and the federal government use this same function when they issue bonds. Every borrower receives cash today, returns cash tomorrow, and pays a percentage rate. Consumers focus on the physical items they purchase with borrowed funds. They worry about parental approval and personal feelings of responsibility. Shoppers paste subjective moral labels on the outside packaging while ignoring the same financial machinery operating inside the box. Mainstream financial gurus take this same machinery and force it into two separate buckets. They place home loans and university tuition into the first bucket because these purchases acquire assets. They throw plastic cards and short-term cash advances into the second bucket because these purchases acquire depreciating items or fund entertainment. Personal finance podcast hosts repeat this two-bucket system every day. Listeners miss a dangerous mathematical error because of this repetition. Financial gurus build a flawed sorting system because they categorize loans based on physical purchases. You never connect the physical purchase to the math, so you fail to calculate if a loan builds wealth or destroys savings. You determine the financial outcome of your loans using one specific comparison. You weigh your borrowing cost against the investment return you sacrifice. You ignore the physical item you purchased. You dismiss your feelings about responsible spending. You build your future wealth based on the mathematical spread between your two percentages. Banks profit from this specific math. You experience the reverse effect. You lock in a guaranteed financial loss by carrying a credit card balance matching your interest percentage. You lose 20% of your capital each year to a 20% credit card balance until you clear the outstanding principal amount. Investors fail to find reliable investments yielding over 20% today. You surrender your net worth to that high-interest balance. You change the math by borrowing at 3% while your invested money earns 8 or 10%. You capture the spread between your cheap loan and your profitable investments. You achieve a different financial result using the identical borrowing mechanism based on the percentage gap. You borrow cheap capital and earn a higher yield on your funds invested in index funds. We apply this principle to upcoming dollar amounts from actual bank statements. We start with a guy named Jake. Jake follows every conventional rule of personal finance. He maintains a strict monthly budget and pays his utility bills the exact day the paper statements arrive in his mailbox. He misses zero minimum payments. Jake believes he possesses strong financial skills. Jake maintains an $8,000 credit card balance every single month. Half of all American credit card users share this exact habit. Jake views this outstanding balance as a standard adult expense, similar to his monthly cell phone bill or his internet subscription. He transfers a couple $100s to his credit card company each month. Jake reduces his principal balance at a glacial pace. Jake remains comfortable with this slow repayment arrangement. Jake ignores the underlying math behind his monthly statement. His credit card agreement stipulates a 21.5% annual interest rate. This exact percentage matches the national average for consumers carrying a revolving balance. That 21.5% rate generates $1,720 in interest charges every single year on his $8,000 debt. Jake rents his debt from the bank. He avoids eliminating the principal. The bank extracts $143 from his checking account every month to cover the accumulated interest. The bank keeps this specific $143 and applies 0 cents to his actual borrowed amount. Jake sends about $200 to the credit card company each month. The bank allocates the vast majority of that $200 payment to interest. The bank accepts this long timeline and waits for its money. Jake needs 71 months to eliminate his $8,000 balance at his current payment speed. Jake makes continuous payments across a timeline of almost 6 full years. Jake hands the bank $6,200 in interest during those 71 months. He spends more than $14,000 to clear an $8,000 debt. Jake runs a small continuous financial donation to his credit card issuer despite his perfect payment record. He ignores this massive wealth drain because the bank sends him 0 past due notices or final warnings. You met Brian in the previous video when he bought his first house. He secured a 30-year fixed mortgage at a 6.5% interest rate. Financial advisors categorize home loans as good debt. Under that basic sorting system, Brian maintains financial stability. Brian stands out for a specific habit regarding borrowing costs. He refuses to carry a balance on any loan exceeding his 6.5% mortgage rate. He avoids revolving credit cards, financed living room furniture, and trendy buy now pay later schemes. He directs any extra cash left over each month away from his primary checking account. He avoids accumulating revolving balances because he owns 0 credit cards. He puts those extra funds to work in a brokerage account. Brian invests $500 every single month. He invests the exact amount Jake feeds into his high-interest credit card balance. Investors historically average a 10% return in the broad stock market. At that rate, he watches that $500 monthly contribution reach a total of $102,000 in a decade. He watches his account reach $380,000 after 20 years and exceed $1.1 million after 30 years of compounding. We adjust that final figure for inflation to reflect actual purchasing power. We treat that 10% return as a nominal number before accounting for purchasing power loss. We factor real-world inflation into the math, lowering that $1.1 million milestone to $610,000. Brian builds that massive wealth from a basic $500 monthly habit. He achieves this result by staying on the correct side of an interest rate threshold. We cannot separate these two men based on income or discipline. Jake meets every single payment deadline. Both guys carry debt on their personal balance sheets. We trace the separating factor to one specific boundary. Jake commits his cash to a 21.5% credit card interest rate and loses wealth to that high percentage. Brian commits his cash to a 10% stock market investment return. He grows his wealth through those investments while keeping his cheapest debt below the threshold. Both men earn identical paychecks and use the exact same financial instruments. They point one specific number in opposite directions. That specific number marks your personal interest rate line. Calculating this precise figure changes your entire financial strategy. This threshold represents the precise moment your loan interest exceeds your potential investment profits. You keep the loan and invest your extra available cash when the interest rate sits below this threshold. You prioritize the loan balance when the interest rate climbs above the mark. Every borrowing choice requires finding this mathematical intersection for each individual account. You establish this threshold by calculating your alternative investment returns. Two distinct options provide this baseline. High-yield savings accounts and treasury bills present a risk-free 4% yield. The stock market offers an ambitious alternative with a historical 10% annual return. Market returns experience severe fluctuations and lack any guarantees. Blending these two historical benchmarks creates a practical boundary for your specific personal financial situation. You attack any loan charging more than 8% because the interest outpaces reliable market earnings. You keep loans charging less than 6% and invest the extra cash when the interest remains fixed. The 6 to 8% range creates a gray zone. Your specific tax bracket, personal risk tolerance, and the potential for variable rate increases dictate the correct move in this middle ground. A variable mortgage might push you to accelerate your repayment schedule. Taxes sharpen this boundary. Eliminating a loan provides a guaranteed tax-free profit. The government claims a percentage of your 10% stock market gains. You keep the full 20% when you erase a 20% loan balance. The tax code ignores this transaction because you eliminated an expense instead of generating new income. High-interest loans drain your net worth and make rapid repayment lucrative for your personal bottom line. Consider Jake and his 21.5% credit card. Clearing this balance provides a guaranteed, tax-free 21.5% return. Jake compares this figure against every pitched investment. The stock market offers a risky, taxed 10% return. Top savings accounts yield 4%. Zero legal investments offer a risk-free, tax-free 21.5% yield to regular consumers. This massive opportunity arrived in his physical mailbox, disguised as a standard monthly paper statement. Eliminating his credit card beats the annual stock market return by over 11 percentage points. High-interest loans operate as the highest-yielding, lowest-risk investment available to everyday people. The traditional good versus bad debt framework fails here. Standard advice labels credit cards as bad debt requiring eventual repayment. This simplistic sorting hides the reality that clearing this specific balance represents the absolute greatest financial wealth-building move of his entire life. You eliminate that specific debt to unlock the ultimate financial maneuver, bringing the very wealthy into our discussion. Wealthy individuals use borrowing to multiply their net worth. You have heard rumors about billionaires avoiding asset sales to dodge taxes. Influencers package these concepts into expensive online courses, selling a fantasy version of the strategy. Investors apply the actual technique on a massive scale using the exact mathematical rule we covered in the last segment. Financial experts call this approach buy, borrow, die. Investors purchase appreciating assets like stocks, real estate, or entire businesses. They hold these holdings for decades to avoid triggering capital gains taxes. These wealthy individuals secure low-interest loans against their portfolios to access cash. They let the underlying assets continue compounding in the background. The borrowers pay a small interest rate while they earn larger returns from their investments. They place their debt on the left side of our profitability line. They leverage borrowing on purpose because they profit from the arithmetic. Politicians draft legislation to eliminate this specific tax loophole. Journalists gave the concept enough attention that Jeff Bezos appeared on television this past year to deny the method on camera. He claimed ignorance regarding the origin of the rumor. Individual billionaires might dispute their personal involvement, yet the underlying mechanics remain available to the general public. They mirror the exact mortgage rule Brian uses to build equity. Consider this concept scaled for an everyday investor. Picture yourself needing $50,000 while holding an investment portfolio. You take the standard approach by selling your shares. You trigger a tax liability with that transaction. Assume $30,000 of your withdrawal consists of capital gains the government taxes at a 15% rate. You write a check to the government for $4,500. You also sacrifice all future compounding on the shares you liquidated. You choose the alternative path by borrowing the $50,000 against your portfolio at a 7% interest rate. Your remaining investments continue growing at a 10% annual return. You pay 7% in interest while your assets earn 10%. You pocket the 3 percentage point spread, netting an estimated $1,500 during the first 12 months. You also delay the entire tax bill for years. You execute the billionaire strategy adapted for regular investors. You apply the identical mathematical rule. Investors who pledge their holdings as collateral face severe downside exposure and substantial danger. Lenders issue a margin call following a significant market downturn. The bank forces you to liquidate your depreciated assets at the absolute worst time. You find this tactic in the advanced tier of personal finance, making it a terrible starting point for beginners. We examine this specific example to demonstrate a core financial principle. Affluent individuals play by the exact same financial rules as everyone else. They operate on the identical profitability line you now understand, adding extra zeros and accepting massive financial stakes. You hold the solution to the opening question. Debt and wealth operate as the exact same lever. Direct this lever below the profitability line to borrow cheap capital and generate higher returns. This strategy creates wealth for a homeowner like Brian managing a mortgage and a billionaire holding a massive stock portfolio. Direct the lever above the line to borrow expensive capital and generate zero returns. This exact same instrument empties your bank account when you hold a credit card like Jake or ignore the interest rates on your statements. Wealthy individuals receive the exact same financial tools as everyone else in the world. They mastered the specific direction required to point those tools toward profit. Your next step requires pointing your own tools in the right direction. Open your personal financial records and write the specific interest rate next to every single debt you owe. Place each individual debt against your personal profitability line. A credit card charging 21.5% sits above the profitability line and offers the highest guaranteed return on your money. Make this specific balance your primary target. A payday loan or a buy now pay later balance nearing 30% constitutes a severe financial emergency. Handle these specific balances with immediate urgency. A personal loan near 12% sits above the line and takes the next spot in your payoff queue. A car loan near 9% sits above the line with a smaller gap. A student loan near 6.5% occupies the gray zone. Maintain your regular payment schedule and invest your extra cash at the exact same time. A fixed mortgage at 6.5% sits in the gray zone and leans toward keeping the debt. Brian made this exact choice for his own finances. Paying down the mortgage guarantees a 6.5% return on your money. Investing the extra cash offers a probable 10% return that might fall short of expectations. The mortgage offers no guaranteed victory in either direction. Anyone claiming an obvious choice failed to calculate the actual math. This method eliminates the arbitrary categories of good debt and bad debt. The system replaces those outdated categories with a single ranked list ordered by interest rate. You eliminate the highest interest rates at the top of the list. You attack the list from the top until your total debt drops below the profitability line. You stop paying off debt and start investing your extra money. One specific exception requires your immediate attention. Capture your employer retirement match before paying off any high-interest debt. A 50% employer match provides a 50% instant return on your contribution. This massive return beats the payoff rate of a credit card. The profitability line determines all your subsequent financial moves. This exact logic applies to your liquid assets. Place your cash in a standard big bank savings account paying the national average of 0.38%. Your $50,000 balance earns $190 over a full year. Place that exact same $50,000 in a high-yield account paying 4%. This high-yield account earns $2,000 over the same year. You get more than 10 times the profit with identical safety. The federal government insures both accounts. This scenario mirrors the debt rule. You risk the same money and face the same safety profile. The interest rate creates a huge difference. Your willingness to check the rate determines the final outcome. Calculate the lifetime value of this specific strategy. Brian and Jake earn the identical monthly paycheck. Brian invested his surplus money from the very beginning. Jake spent close to 6 years clearing a single credit card before he started investing his money. Brian gained a massive 6-year head start by positioning his money on the correct side of the profitability line. This head start creates a $174,000 wealth gap between the two men over a 30-year period. The gap originates from pointing the financial lever in the correct direction at an earlier date. Debt lacks inherent moral value. The instrument functions as a specific interest rate measured against an alternative investment opportunity. You can perform this mathematical comparison on every single loan you own. The calculation takes the exact time required to read the interest rate off a monthly bank statement. Individuals who use debt to build wealth possess no secret knowledge. These individuals checked a specific number that you can check on your own. You possess the specific number and the correct direction to point your financial lever. You input your specific loan balances, interest rates, and expected investment returns into a custom calculator I programmed. You type every single debt. You receive precise dollar amounts detailing the exact side of the interest rate line each loan occupies. The program sorts your debts to highlight the best target for your next extra payment. You see the precise dollar cost of keeping each loan open compared to the investment profit that cash generates. Our team placed this debt analyzer inside the Wealth Logician Calculator Vault. We built the vault to store every financial spreadsheet and calculator our team designed for this channel. Purchasing a membership grants you complete access to this entire software library. You join a private group of viewers crunching their own hard math instead of relying on random financial advice. Members share customized payoff schedules and discuss the mathematical hurdles they overcome while eliminating high-interest balances.